Now you can. Hello, everyone. Technical fail again. Hopefully you could see me and hear me. Do let me know in the chat if everything is working okay. Welcome to my stream. As you'll know by the title, this is my Ubuntu Focal Fossa. First look, poke around, do a bit of testing, that kind of thing. Let's shift this down a little bit, tiny bit. There we go. So the idea behind this is we put Ubuntu on a machine and then poke around at it, see if there's any bugs, and maybe there's some things we can learn along the way, such as, you know, how to file bugs. Sorry, my glasses are steaming up. It doesn't happen very often. Getting all hot and bothered. Yes, do let me know if the everything's working okay. I'm having to multitask, which is obviously not great. I'm not good at that. All right. So, what are we doing? Can I get a confirmation from the chatty chat thing that everything's going okay? If so, I will switch over to my browser somewhere. There. And show you what's going on. Still nobody's saying whether they can hear me or not. That's a slight worry. Oh, I'm looking at top chat. I should be looking at live chat, shouldn't I? That's always the... Sound is great. Picture too. Thank you. Right, so let's make a start. So Ubuntu is a desktop operating system and servers. You know, you can read more about it on our website. There's a mailing list called Ubuntu Devel Announce, and there's a post on the announcement mailing list. And I've pointed to some of these announcements before, and I thought I'd mention this because there's a subtle difference between this and some of the other announcements. You'll notice that this one is on a mailing list called Ubuntu Devel Announce. So this is an announcement that's targeted at the developers who are working on Ubuntu. This isn't targeted at normal people like you and me. It's targeted at the people who are building Ubuntu. And so what this is saying is the archive is open. And this was like a month ago. The archive is open and they start building the packages, and those packages get landed in the archive. And then once there's enough of those packages, they start building daily ISO images. So the daily ISO images don't start right at the beginning. Typically, they usually start a little while later, because they have to build all the infrastructure tools in order to build the ISO. And so we've got to that point now. There are ISO images. And you'll find them all on this CD image server, cdimage.ubuntu.com. They may be hosted elsewhere, they may be mirrored elsewhere, but this is the, for want of a better word, canonical with a small c location where you find these. So the one I've downloaded is under the Daily Live directory, and these are the Ubuntu ISOs. Now, Ubuntu consists of many ISO images for all the different flavors. So there's Lubuntu that uses LXDE and LXQt. There's Xubuntu with an X that is based around XFCE. There's Kubuntu that uses KDE, and so on and so on. There's a whole load of them. And you'll find them in here. There's Budgie, there's Ubuntu Server and Ubuntu Studio and Chillin. And you could grab an ISO from those and test those out. Today I'm just going to test out the GNOME flavor of Ubuntu, but you can do exactly what I do, but with one of these other images. And you'll find them, you know, in these directories. So the Mate one is in here. There's Daily Live, and that's today's date. And you'll find the ISO images down there. There we go. So they're quite chunky, a couple of gig in size. And once you've downloaded them, you can put them onto an USB key. I have a... Where's it gone? I have a couple of USB keys that I have kicking around. I tend to use USB 3 if I can, but not all of my machines have USB 3 ports. So USB 2 is fine to do an install. It takes about 20 minutes to do the install. So I've downloaded the ISO. Now the way you put the ISO on the USB key, it's entirely up to you. There are loads of tools for doing this. If we go back to the home page, where you go to download, like you pick whichever you're going to download. When you get to the download page, somewhere down here, there's a thing. Oh, where's that gone then? There was a thing. Oh, learn how to try. Follow our simple guide. Is this the one? Yes, it's a tutorial that tells you how to put the ISO on a USB key, and it gives you instructions for different operating systems, and it's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go through that because it's pretty straightforward. I actually generally use a command line tool called DD Rescue to put the ISO onto a USB key. I just prefer using that. But if you want to use a desktop application, you can do that. I hear Etcher is quite good. Some people seem to use that quite a lot. So that's good. Yes. Hello, everyone in the chat. Yes. Top chat is such a stupid feature. I completely agree with you. I mean, I've watched live streams where the chat has just flown by because they're super popular people with thousands of subscribers, and so I can see how top chat might be useful for them, so they can actually see, curated content or whatever. Anyway, so I've got the ISO, and actually on my my good old trusty ThinkPad, I have already got it installed. So this is my ThinkPad. And you can find out if I go to details down here. You can see, there we go, we're running Ubuntu Focal development branch on my trusty old ThinkPad X220. And I use this a lot, mainly because it's kind of spare. It was my previous main laptop. But you could pick up any kind of old laptop. You should be able to pick up any kind of old laptop. I have older ones. This gorgeous beast here is an X61S, which is dual core, quite old, but it runs some of the lighter weight desktops pretty well. So I think it's a good thing to be testing on slightly older machines like this X220. I mean, it does have an SSD, it does have 16 gigs of RAM, so it's quite a beefy one, whereas that machine behind me has got like 4 gigs of RAM. And I've also started looking at installing on spinning Rust. The X220 I've got here is sat in a docking station, and it's got an optical drive bay, which I've taken the optical drive out, and I've got one of these adapters that you can put a drive in. And so sure enough, I've put a drive, a spinning Rust drive in here, so that I can slot that in the docking station and then do an install on spinning Rust, just to see how it compares, because sometimes bugs only surface on certain hardware combinations. And I've mentioned this before. You can install on a VM, but nothing really beats installing on real hardware and discovering the intricacies of issues that occur on these machines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe this. I've already installed it because I was playing around with this laptop the other day, but I've got my USB key here with Focal on it, and I'm going to do the install again and wipe out what's already on here. So I'm just going to reboot this thing. So you can see there, it's that's the USB key that's got it on. So I'm just going to reboot this system, and when I restart it, I will tell it to boot from the USB key. I don't know if you'll be able to see this through my hardware capture device. How you get to that screen differs. On my ThinkPad, you press the blue Think Vantage button and then you press F12 and you get a boot menu. Other systems, it's F1. Other systems, it's F2 or F10. Depends on the manufacturer and the BIOS. So here we go. Let's zoom in on this. Oh dear, look, the title down the bottom is wrong. Better Bug Battling. It should say Testing 2004. Whoopsie. Let's... Nobody noticed. So let's boot to the USB key. There we go. Now, it should show me a little, this thing here. And if you press space, you may have missed it. It was a little keyboard equals person. And that brings up the accessibility options. You can just leave it alone and it will boot normally, but the whole idea of that is if you had accessibility needs, then you can press spacebar when the system boots, and it will bring up a menu, and you can choose one of the accessibility options under the F5 menu. And this is all documented, so people who have accessibility needs can discover this. The options aren't exactly hidden. So if you need a screen magnifier, or you need a high contrast display because your vision is not 20/20, then you can set those things on. Or if you need a Braille terminal connected, or audio output and all that kind of stuff, you can do that. I'm fortunate enough not to need those, so I'm not gonna choose any of those. And you can see there's a number of options here. If you don't press space, it will boot to a graphical environment where you get two big buttons, one that says Try Ubuntu and one that says Install Ubuntu, which is effectively the difference between this option at the top and this option down here. So I'm going to just say Try Ubuntu without installing, and that will boot me to a desktop, and I can poke around in the live environment. This is the, check whether your system boots on this hardware option, where you can just choose Try Ubuntu, get to the desktop, and then poke around for a bit. Hello everyone in chat. Hello Johan. Hello Ian. How you doing? Accessibility options isn't obvious as to what it is. I didn't know for years. Yeah, it's. I think it's one of those things that if you know you need it, you go looking for it and you find it. It's interesting. One of my friends tried doing an install of Ubuntu using the accessibility options and turning the display off on his desktop to see if it's possible for the install to be done, because you need to be able to test this stuff. And one way to test it is to just turn the display off. So you get the audio cues telling you which window is focused and all that kind of stuff. So it's booted, and because my laptop is connected to a capture card, you're seeing the second display. And if I press Super P, my favorite keyboard combination in the world, when I press Super P, it should, there we go. Super P is this thing. I love this. I made a tweet and put it out over the Ubuntu social media accounts, because a lot of people don't know that this thing exists, Super P. And it just rotates through the various options if you've got an external display. It's really handy if you're giving a presentation and you plug a projector in and then you're not sure whether it's mirroring, or you've got it set up as a second display, or you only want the external display on, or whatever option. You can just Super P through these. And I always tell people about this because most people just don't know. I think actually if I trigger the function F7, it will show the same thing. Yes. So on my ThinkPad, I'm pressing function F7. And the same dialogue appears. It's amazing. Anyway, so we're now at a point where I can sit and play around with Ubuntu, and it definitely is Focal Fossa. So Focal Fossa is the code name. As always, we have a code name, and you'll notice here it says Ubuntu Focal Fossa Development Branch, meaning this is not meant for prime time yet. The release date is April 20-something 2020, and so this will continue to say Focal Fossa Development Branch until just before the release, and then an update will go out that will change this so that it says 2004 long-term support, I think, something like that. So that's why it says that, and we only really use the code name during the development, but internally, within the project, people use the code name all the time. Right, so let's do the install. I do, as I said, already have it installed on the disk in this system. But if I just launch the installer, we'll just see what happens when we try the install. Now, it is connected to the internet. Your experience will differ if it's connected or if it's not. So if you're not on the Wi-Fi or not connected to an Ethernet cable or on 3G or anything, then the dialogues will be slightly different. Specifically, the next one. So I choose my keyboard layout. Now it's defaulted to US. That's the default on the ISO image. I'll just change it to UK and just test that all the usual keys are in the right place. They are. Hit continue, and this option here changes if you are offline, it doesn't enable this. So I'm going to disable it anyway because I don't need that option turned on. And I'll just do, actually, let's just leave the defaults. Yeah, we'll leave the defaults. Normal installation, download updates, continue. Once this actually starts doing the install, we'll switch away and look at something else because it will take a little while. So, Master Noob says Super P also works the same in Windows, by the way. Well, I should hope it would. It originated there. As I understand it, it was Dell and Microsoft worked together on that keyboard comment. I think. I have a feeling it was Dell who came up with that. And they had it as a keyboard shortcut in Dell laptops. I may be misremembering this because it was enabled a long time ago. And I think at some point we had a conversation with them and they said, hey, you should add Super P. And so we added it to Unity. Anyway, so installation type. What are we going to do? Now, this has changed from 1910. This is slightly different. In 1910, they added the experimental ZFS support. And it was just a line in here that had a radio button that said experimental ZFS support. And I think they've hidden it under this advanced features now. Because I think this screen was too long. There were too many radio buttons. That may be why. It may just be, you know, advanced mode, danger, Will Robinson. They've hidden it under there. So, yeah, there you go. There's the options under advanced. Use LVM and encrypt, or do the experimental erase disk and use ZFS. We'll just use... what should we do? Let's do the ZFS thing. Why not? Why not? Erase disk and install Ubuntu. So remember I said that my disk has Ubuntu on it. Actually, you can see that. There's a handy utility on here called disks. And here you can see the devices I have. The internal SSD, which has an ext4 partition currently. And it's not mounted, which is a good thing. And then there's the thumb drive, and then the mounted live image that I'm currently running from is this 2 gig loopback device. So we'll erase and do ZFS, hit install. We've only got a couple more questions to answer. If you continue, I'm going to write all this stuff to disk and erase all your stuff. Yes, do that. I am in near London. This looks wrong. I think the window has grown slightly in width because this looks stretched, elongated, and I can't resize the window. But I think one of the previous dialogues makes this too wide because that just looks disproportionately wide. I think maybe the text on the partitioning screen made the window too wide or something, but that just looks wrong to me. I'll speak to the desktop guys and see if that's a bug or if it's known, or afterwards. I don't want to go filing too many bugs right now because it's quite early in 2004 in the Focal development cycle, and it's quite possible that this stuff just hasn't been touched yet. Put my name in and the host name, as always, Deep Thought, and give myself a password. There we go. Sweet. And it starts installing. Now you'll notice it's still got the old mascot, the Eon Ermine, which matches the one on the desktop. That usually doesn't get updated until a bit later in the cycle. In fact, I don't even think the artwork exists for Focal Fossa yet. And that often lands quite late as kind of a last-minute item on someone's to-do list. So it would be good if... actually, let's change that. Which one was it? This one. Let's just change that while it's installing. Noodling around 2004. There we go. Oop. Oh, it's not straight now. That'll do. Brilliant. So now it's installing. If you've got any questions, feel free to chuck them in the chat while we're waiting for this to install. It won't take too long. I think probably about 20 minutes, something like that. And while that's happening, and if you ask any questions, feel free. I'll point you once again at the ISO tracker. This website here, iso.qa.ubuntu.com. And this is where we track the testing that goes on for all of those ISO images. And if you scroll down, you can see we have a milestone for Focal. We talked about this in my previous video, so I'm not going to go into it super deeply. But we have a milestone called Focal Daily, and so you can test the daily image. So, for example, I'm testing Ubuntu Desktop as the product, and there's a bunch of options here. And I notice the ZFS one is not in the list, so there isn't a test case for that yet. But if I was testing any of the others, then I could follow the steps that are in here. Tells you exactly what to do, and these are the steps that I went through in Ubiquity. You know, the various screens in the installer, and this will just tell you what to do, tell you what to expect, and if anything doesn't work the way you think it should, you can put your results down the bottom here. We've covered this in previous videos. It's pretty straightforward. It's a nice task to contribute to Ubuntu without having to write any code at all. You just log into this website. I've logged in already. You just need an Ubuntu SSO account in order to log into this site, and that allows you to contribute like the results of your testing. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's good fun. And as a result, I'm not going to take any credit for this, but as a result of the testing we did at the end of the 1910 cycle, so that was just a month or so back, I did one of these live streams. Some people in the community started testing a bit more. And so I think it's one of those things that people just didn't realize was actually not that hard to do. And it's quite straightforward. And, you know, it's if you've got a spare hour in an evening and you're not doing anything, you know, this is not hard and low impact way to contribute. There's nobody standing over you, pressuring you to get something delivered. Yeah, especially this early in the cycle. When it gets towards release week, there is quite a lot of pressure to try and get these ISOs tested, because you want to get them tested as early as possible, because you don't want to find bugs in them after they've been released. And so, you know, now is, or not really now, but when we get to like the beta images, the alpha and beta images, that's kind of a good time to start properly exercising these ISOs. But now is a good time to just poke about and, you know, discover what's going on in Focal Fossa and see if anything's changed. I would imagine not a lot has changed between 1910 and this development image. Oh, something I often show, which I haven't shown you, is the changes mailing list. I do enjoy this. If you go to lists.ubuntu.com, there's a changes mailing list for every release of Ubuntu. And so we're now on Focal, and if you look in the archive for this mailing list, this is not a mailing list you would subscribe to and talk to people on. The web archive is way more useful, in my opinion. But you'll see, remember I said, where is it? Focal is now open October 28th. And so this is where, in the early stages of this release of Ubuntu, all these like really low-level base packages were being pushed to the archive by all these people. So, you know, Adam Conrad is part of the release team. Simon Quigley works on Ubuntu and contributes to some of these packages. You'll notice here, Simon Quigley doesn't work for Canonical. He's an Ubuntu community member and works on the release team. And he's pushing packages, dev scripts, Lintian, is it Lintian? I never know how to pronounce that. Matthias Close, he's also contributing a whole load of packages into the archive. And so throughout the month, that first month of the release, like tons of packages. And this is a lot of these coming from Debian. So these are packages that are being synchronized into Ubuntu from Debian. Not all of them, but quite a lot of them are coming from Debian, and that seeds the image, seeds the archive, and it continues all the way through November. And you can see, oh, there's Rick Mills, who's in the chat, and loads of other people. And the thing I find interesting about this is just the rate of change, like the amount of stuff that's, I saw another name I recognise then. Oh no, scroll past, I can't. I keep saying, oh, there we go. So there's Mario, who works for Dell and contributes to the firmware updater tool. So, you know, it's quite fascinating to see. I mean, you can drill into these and say, oh, well, what changes are in here? Not a lot, just change the dependencies in here. But some of these will be, you know, more significant changes than other ones. Some of them are pretty minor. But yeah, as you scroll through, you can see, you know, stuff has changed. Maybe you could look out for image applications or things that you're particularly interested in. So conversation, there we go. There's an application that has a new release, some bug fixes, some patches in Debian that are applied. So yeah, it's super fascinating. I mean, it's not fascinating enough to read every single mail, but it's interesting, I think. Anyway, the install's finished. So the laptop has finished with the install, and I can either carry on testing and just noodle around on the live system, but probably more interesting is to reboot it into the installed system. So I'm just going to restart the system, and it'll prompt me at the end. It should prompt me at the end to take the USB key out. There we go. Remove the installation media, then press enter. And that should reboot into directly into Ubuntu Focal Fossa. I shouldn't need to press the button because there's only one hard drive in this system. It should just boot straight in. Any questions? Oh, Neklesh, hello. Nice to see you here. How are you doing? Master Noob says, is this a manual process for every package, or are most of the packages coming from from an automatic process? Well, there's some manual work for every single one of them. There's going to be some manual work because someone had to edit that changelog. Someone had to update the text that said what was changed in this release. So there's always going to be a human involved there. And when they're publishing their packages, they also need to sign them, cryptographically sign them. So there's always a human interaction involved there. Some people might script some of those things. And in fact, that's highly likely that people were preparing their packages before the archive opened, so that as soon as the archive opens and that email goes out that says the archive is open, they can just go and run a script that just pushes them all into Launchpad, so that Launchpad can start building the binaries of everything. So it depends per developer. Some of it is semi-automated coming from Debian. I'm just logging into the laptop, but you can't see it because it's on the other screen. Oh, that did not log in. Maybe I got the password wrong. So I'll do my Super P magic again in a sec. Mirror. There we go. So it's successfully logged in. Hopefully somebody is reading them all. I honestly don't think anyone is reading those mails. There might be someone on the development team who does, but I don't. So this is interesting. This is the first run. Oh dear. This is the first run thing. I think. Yeah, that's better. I don't like it taking up the whole display. But I've only got a 1366 by 768 display, so it zooms into the whole display. I know I've seen a lot of people when they do reviews of desktops and introductions to what's happening. They never sign in to any of these. It's funny. Someone's got to test this stuff to make sure it works, and the Google one broke recently. If you signed into Google, there was some API key limit overran or ran out or something, and so that one broke. And if nobody pressed that to figure out, then we probably wouldn't know. And so these things are quite interesting. I never used to use these, but I've started using them partly to test them. And now that I have signed into Google on my main computer behind me, I get notifications in GNOME from under here for events that are in my calendar. I didn't even know GNOME did that. But it does it if you sign in here. So you might want to do that if you have an online calendar. Yes, I appreciate some people don't do that. That's fine. Good. Would you like to set up LivePatch? Now, I'm going to say no. I'm just going to go past this because LivePatch doesn't work on development releases. So there's no point me setting up LivePatch on here. It's only supported on stable releases. So if I was installing 1804, then I could set up LivePatch. But there's no point me doing this. I'm sure LivePatch will be supported when 2004 comes out, but it won't be while we're in development. And then there's the send data to Canonical, and yes, let's show the report. What's in it? Well, as always, there's a bit about my hardware, that I've got a ThinkPad. There's the BIOS version. Oh, hello, Trigger. There's my CPU. There's the processor. What types of screens I have. Notice here it knows that I've got 2 screens. So during the install, I had 2 screens attached. And some of the options that I chose, I'm logged in under Xorg, not Wayland. So this is just useful data that gets sent into a database somewhere that helps us determine, you know, where we should focus stuff. While he's here, you can say hello to This is Trigger. Hello, everyone. Hello, Internet. So I'm going to say yes, send the information to Canonical. I don't use any location services. I haven't got any map apps or anything, so I'm not going to turn that on, but you could. And then there's a whole bunch of apps in the store which it presents to, you know, recommend them to you. Oh, that's interesting. That all moved when I moved the mouse down. If I go back and forward, will it do it again? No. Drat. I wonder if that's because I resized the window and it had to resize it. I'll have to try that again. That's it. My 2004 installation is done. Is there anything anyone would like me to... Trigger says hi. Well, he doesn't actually. He's sat on the floor behind me licking himself. If there's anything any of you would like me to poke around in here, yes, they do steal the show, then let me know. I don't think there's a lot that's different from 1910. Oh, I've got... That's the other point. I did a ZFS install, didn't I? So where's disks gone? It's under utilities, isn't it? Is it? Disks. There we go. So yeah, now you can see, now the install's done, you can see the partition layout it does for ZFS. I don't know how to use this, so yeah, I don't know much about that. As I understand it, there's a package called ZSys, which I don't think is installed by default. Maybe it is. Show ZSys. Yeah, this thing. I don't think it's installed by default. No, it can't be. So it's in Universe, so it won't be installed by default. But I believe that this is something that's going to land in 2004. So this will be one of the things to look out for later on. I think this is going to do some management of your ZFS on your system. So that's good. So I don't think I found any glaring bugs yet, but I'll keep trying. You know, poking around and see if I can find anything that you know, doesn't work. Just open everything, see what happens. It's always good for a laugh. Just like open every application and see what happens. I had the App Store open. Let's install some things. Let's install 0AD. Installing games, that's always a good idea. Test that software installs successfully. I'll install Mumble. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Mumble's great. OBS. Oh, let's install OBS. I'm not just doing this to bump the install numbers for all these applications. Did that actually... Oh, no, it didn't. Oh, it already took it. Now, I've already reported this bug. I reported this bug before, where you click install and the little scrolly thing doesn't appear. I think I filed that a little while ago, so I'll have to chase that up. Sweet. So it's installed some stuff, I guess. Is it? Oh, it's installing. Sweet. What else can we do? LibreOffice is installed. That works okay. Thunderbird. I'm not going to sign up with Thunderbird right now. Rhythm box. I haven't got any music on here, so I can't play any music at the moment. I could. One of the things I'm tempted to do is have a USB stick that's got like loads of stuff on it, like documents, music, bits and bobs that I can use to test like the stock applications, because the fact that I haven't got any music means I can't really test this application. And maybe I could import some bookmarks into Firefox and browse a few websites and make sure that all works okay. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be a good idea. I'll do that one sometime. Help works. Good. Sweet. The icons in disks look strange. Do they indeed? Let's have a look. Oh, Mumble is now installed. Where did it go? Oh. Hello. Disks. Yeah, the little ones at the bottom of the partitions. These little icons here, they do look a bit weird. I don't know why that is. What does the star mean? Does that mean it's bootable? Is there some properties? Edit. Do I want to edit it? Oh, probably means it's bootable, because if I do partition, yeah, I think that's all it means. I think the star means it's bootable, and the little play button means it's mounted. I think. Yeah, because that one's mounted at boot EFI. That's swap, so that's mounted, but I don't know how these are not mounted, because I don't understand ZFS, but they must be mounted somehow. ZFS is still experimental. Yes, this is true. This is true. Hope that it will be working by the time of the 2004. Yeah, I don't know if it will be anything. I don't know if it'll come out of being experimental. I mean, more people need to try it. That's really what we need, is more people, exercising ZFS on 2004. And try all the different workloads. Maybe you compile a lot of software. Does it change the way you compile software? Maybe you do some software development, like we've got Android Studio in here somewhere. Why is that not finding Android? There it is. So, maybe running on ZFS, I don't know, backups take longer. I don't know. I'm speculating, because I have no idea. So I think that's the thing. You need to just exercise it as much as possible. They look buggy and need a tooltip. I guess you're still referring to those things in disks. Yeah, they do look a bit weird. I don't know. Maybe it would look better on a bigger screen if this was vertically taller and the partitions were larger. Maybe it wouldn't look so weird. I don't know. But the fact that it's overwritten the writing is only because this disk is split in half horizontally. But I mean, that's not an Ubuntu bug. I guess that's an upstream bug in this application. We could certainly file a bug about it. I don't know what you would do about that, whether you would make this vertically taller so that it doesn't stomp all over the text. That might be an option. But I don't, because there's a lot of wasted space down here. There's no reason this couldn't be like 50% wider, height-wise. So higher, taller is the word I was probably looking for. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. So on a system with many file changes, doesn't ZFS take up the whole disk very quickly? I honestly don't know. I've not used it enough. Hello, Ali's asking, could I show the FS tab? Let's go and find the FS tab. Other locations, my computer, etc, and then FS tab is in here somewhere. I could just type that, couldn't I, rather than be lazy? FS tab. Oh, that's another thing. How do you pronounce the name of this file? I always called it FS tab. I've always called it etc FS tab. I've heard people call it fstab, which, okay. So, I mean to drag that. So it's got an EFI partition, which is VFAT. boot grub, which is where the EFI stuff is, and then this here, which is swap. So interesting. You don't see it in there, the ZFS stuff. It's all ZFS voodoo magic. Don't know how that works. Interesting. Has he actually been streaming since yesterday? That's what YouTube says. Yeah, I have. You're all late to the party. I've been here for a day. No, I scheduled this originally yesterday, and I changed the date to today. So I don't know why it still thinks I started yesterday. That's a lie. I didn't realise it said that. That's quite fun. Been here 24 hours and only just got the system installed. That would be a bit of a fail, wouldn't it? I can copy some music over to this thing, I think, actually. I could rsync scp -r. Let's whiz some music across. There we go. I'll leave that whizzing some music across, and then I can test out Rhythm Box properly. Yes, FS tab, file system table is what it really means, yeah. You need to use ZFS and Zpool. Oh, wow, let's learn ZFS. What is it, Zpool, is that Zpool list or something? Zpool list. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, yes, you're right. There's the B pool and the R pool, which is exactly what we saw in here. I think somewhere. I saw those words somewhere here. I'm sure I saw it. Oh, there you go. R pool, B pool. And I don't know what the rest of that is. Pretty cool. And Gen 2 install, yes. So I have often thought about doing a Gen 2 install, but ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm not going to do that. It's a DF work. Huh. So the size is 209 gig. Okay. Yeah, I know this is a copy on write system. So if I modify files, they're new blocks or something. I should probably learn about this. So hopefully some music has arrived now. How do I tell Rhythm Box? Add music. Oh, there we go. Vroom. It's finding music. Yeah, there we go. That works. I'm not going to play that or I'll get copyright strike. So yeah, that works. See, this is the thing. That, I believe, is an MP3. No, it's a FLAC. Oh, okay. I thought it was an MP3. Have we got any MP3s? Yeah. So this stuff is MP3s. Yes, that's an MP3. So does that work? Does that play? Yes, I can hear that. I'm trying to talk over it so I don't get a copyright strike, but that is definitely playing. Excellent. So that whole Ubuntu doesn't ship codecs actually does. So that's good to hear. I don't think I ticked the little box on the install, did I? The box that says, you know, install extra stuff. So out of the box, I can certainly play FLACs and I can certainly play MP3s. Have I got any OGs on here? Almost certainly not. No. Where can I get an OG file from? I know. static.ubuntupodcast.org/upc. No. podcast.ubuntuuk.org. Yes. So if I go all the way back to the first season of the Ubuntu podcast, haha, I know. Save link as downloads. So in theory, we should be able to play an OG file. I mean, it'd be pretty brain dead if it couldn't. That's our old logo. Let's open that with Rhythmbox. Sweet. Yeah, unsurprisingly, OGG files work as well. Awesome. What about movie files? Wonder if they see. This is what I mean. I think I need like a USB key with a bunch of stuff on music, a few sample videos. I did used to have a folder with sample videos that I got for testing Ubuntu phone media playback. So I think I need to create that again. Big Buck Bunny. Buck Bunny. To this page. So why is it? Oh, I see. You got to go down here. So let's get this AVI file. Is that saving? No. Big Buck Bunny, save that AVI file, and this H.264. Save link as. I remember many years ago, one of the complaints about Ubuntu was that it didn't have the codecs, and you know we just couldn't because well we know OGG's play, but that should work. Legally, we just couldn't ship them on the ISO, and I know some other distributions ship them, and you know they have a somewhat more laissez-faire attitude with redistribution of proprietary codecs and stuff, and yeah. We have lawyers, and they tell us what we can and can't do. So that's why we don't ship stuff we're not allowed to. We only ship stuff we can. And I appreciate that some people might say, hey, but you shouldn't be shipping this or that. It's like, well, speak to the lawyers. Oh. Yes, it is heresy, MP3. Isn't MP3 out of copyright or whatever? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I don't know anything about this stuff. Wow, that music has stayed the same since the very beginning. Yes, it has. So that music we found on archive.org, I think. Crazy tune. I can't remember who the artist was. Oh gosh. Yeah, but the copy we used, I don't think it's this one. But whichever copy it was that we used was out of copyright when we started doing the Ubuntu podcast. Because you'll notice here the recording date is 1927. And so we were fairly confident that we wouldn't get copyright strikes because of the one we chose. I can't remember which one it was. But as you can see, there are multiple copies of this performed by different people. And yeah, one of the reasons we've never changed it is, you know, we have affection for that song, but also it's hard to find a piece of music that's, you know, good and that you're not going to get copyright strikes on. That said, we still do get copyright strikes about that song. So yeah, that's kind of frustrating, even though we know it's out of copyright. These are not downloading. What am I? Have I done something wrong here? Oh man, you got to go to a directory and download them like some kind of animal. Man, I'm gonna have to download these later. I think when I do my next stream, I'll have all this stuff downloaded ahead of time, because this is just going to take forever to download all this stuff. I don't think it's actually downloading at all, is it? No. So we'll save that for next time. But what I want to test there is if I just double click a video file, what happens? Does it does the media player do the right thing and try and go and get the codecs and just do everything? Because yeah, people need that stuff. I also installed some software, didn't I? I installed Android Studio, I think. Whoop. Does that work? Yes. Oh, that's not looking good. Oh, that's not themed properly. Wonder what's going on there. That looks like something I should look at. Don't send. There's some. Looks like some widgets missing or something. Oh, it seems all right now. I have to look at that again. So we already have a couple of things that I need to look at. I need to look at media playback, which I'll probably do either later on today or maybe I'll do another stream tomorrow. And that theming looked a bit wonky. Yeah, we shall see. So that's all I wanted to do today, is just have a bit of a noodle around, get it installed, and maybe we'll come back and do some more specific tests. Remember I said we've got the ISO tracker over here somewhere, where we've got specific tests that we could do, like manual partitioning or resizing the disk and all that kind of stuff. Might be able to test a few of those things. I think that would be a good thing to do. Yeah, all good fun. So that was just a little noodle around in Ubuntu Focal Fossa that will become 2004 in April next year. We've got plenty of time between now and then to do some more testing. If there's anything in particular you want me to try out, maybe one of the other flavors, maybe there's specific features you want me to take a look at, we could do that. Leave a comment below. If you subscribe, then you'll get notified, maybe, depending upon the algorithm, about the next time I go live with these things. I also try and pimp it on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see it. Twitter.com/Popey. But yeah, if you have any suggestions on things I should cover, any questions you want me to answer, happy to talk about anything. I didn't have my eyes on the chat very well, so I think I'm going to rearrange my screens next time so that I can have the chat like in my eye line a little bit more, which should make it better because I'll be able to answer your questions when I see them. But yes, I think that's everything. Thanks for joining me, all of those of you in chat, and like I said, I'll see you next time. Cheerio, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.